Hello, welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. In this video I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been up to over the past 2 years since my last video, and also a new project that I've decided to embark on now, and a little bit of detail about that. Okay, so I mentioned in my last video that I went on a trip to Australia for a couple of months back in June and July of 2023. And that was a really good experience for me. At the time I found it very confronting because I got a lot of feedback that I initially went into resistance about, and in particular well, there were many aspects of the feedback, but one I'd like to mention in this video is that I was not a very responsible person. Like, I didn't take on many responsibilities in my life. In fact, I lived a life where I sort of avoided having responsibilities, and yeah, so that's one thing that I sort of wanted to address after I got back from Australia. And I sort of thought, because at the time I didn't have a job, so I thought, yeah, this is a good opportunity for me. I'll get a job where I have where I can sort of learn a bit more about being responsible for things through the job. And that was part of the reason why I chose the career that I did choose, which is being an actuary. So not everyone's heard of being an actuary. What an actuary basically does is they can do a variety of things, but what I was doing as an actuary was I was working for an insurance company, and the idea is that because the insurance company policyholders that have insurance policies with the company, they're going to have to make claims in the future, but when they make claims, the insurance company better have money available to pay out for those claims. So they hire a bunch of actuaries to work out, based on all the policies that the company has written, how much money they'll have to pay out in claims in the future, and that tells the company how much money they have to keep in reserve. So that was what I was doing, and yeah, I'm pretty happy that I went into that line of work. I was working for originally it was called DAS, Legal Expenses Insurance Company. It was then acquired by another company and rebranded as ARAG. But yeah, so yeah, and I do feel like I've become a bit better, well, partly a bit more responsible, but also with other skills like learning how to work together with other people in the business, how to manage stress, how to prioritize tasks, and all that comes with being a good employee. So I'm quite happy with my choice. I was there for 1.5 years, but I have now left that role to embark on a new project which I'm calling Spirit Communication Technologies. So what's that? Basically, I've mentioned on this channel in the past that I was interested in mediumship. So mediumship is when a person is sensitive to spirits and can channel spirits and receive information from spirits. So you can, if you have a deceased relative, for example, you might want to go to a medium in order to speak to that relative who's still alive in the spirit world. So yeah, that's mediumship. But what I'm doing is sort of like an alternative to mediumship, not exactly intending to replace mediumship, but give more possibilities for spirits to communicate with people on Earth. And the idea is that instead of going through a person, the spirits would go through a physical device. Now, I'm not the first person to have this idea. There's a few other researchers in the past who've tried to build up some devices, but I was it's a project I feel quite interested in, and I definitely want to give it a go with this new project I'm embarking on, to see how I can do with creating these devices. So I'll talk a bit about the aims of Spirit Communication Technologies. The first thing is to research how communication with spirits works. So that will probably involve, on the one hand, experiments, trying to make some devices perhaps that other people have tried in the past and see how they work, what makes them work better or worse, what are the principles involved, trying to understand the laws of physics that are involved, and also the spiritual principles that are also involved in any such communication. So yeah, that's the first step, is to just research and experiment. Then I also want to, if I get any successful setups, I want to share exactly how this is done. So there's going to be a company website which I'll link below in the description, and there, among other things, I'll hope eventually to share details of any devices, or how to build your own device that can communicate with spirits, so that others can benefit from that, can then replicate what I've been doing and communicate with spirits themselves through a device they've made based off what I've shared. And finally, if I'm successful again, I'd like to also share any messages from spirits or information from the spirit world freely on the Spirit Communication Technologies website again. So that's an overview of the aims. You can find more detail about this all again on the website. I'll talk a little bit about the project itself, is how it's set up. I decided that I wanted to Spirit Communication Technologies to be a limited company. Now there were other options like being a charity or sole trader or things like that, but for various reasons limited company is the one I settled on, even though I'm the only person involved. So I'm the only director and the only shareholder of Spirit Communication Technologies. I mean, it's possible long term that there might be other people, but at least for the moment it's just me. Despite being a limited company, it's not part of our aims to make a profit. Our aims is just to benefit the world by researching and sharing ways of communicating with spirits. So yeah, as I say, making profit is not part of those aims. Those are the main aims, and yeah, it's not really about a money-making scheme. However, having said that, we do obviously need money to buy equipment, to pay for the website, and obviously it's not the case at the moment that I'm taking money out of the company to pay my own living expenses. But if I want to work full time on the company, which again I'm not at the moment, but I might at some point in the future, I would also need to take money out of the company just to fund my own living expenses, so effectively pay myself a salary. So yeah, it does need money, even though it's not making a profit. And I decided that the most loving way of getting revenue for the company to fund our activities is to rely on donations. So this is inspired by what Divine Truth does. They're entirely based off donations, and in the same way I want Spirit Communication Technologies to be based off donations. Like, initially to set up, I've put my own money into it to just to get things set up and make a start, but yeah, eventually the aim is to be funded by donations. And so I think that's all I've got to say in this video. I'm quite excited about this project, so I'm happy to make this video sharing that it's now officially been launched. As I said, the website is live. There's going to be a blog on the website where I'm going to share any updates, so if you're interested you may want to consider subscribing to that blog, or so you get new posts in directly to your inbox. Alternatively, you can just like bookmark the page and come back whenever you feel like it to see if anything's new. And yeah, thanks for watching. I think that's all I wanted to cover in this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.